Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for your patience. I think this is the first time we've had a webinar since we've gone to Google, so we're transitioning to some new tools here. But I'd like to welcome you to a webinar for Dashboard 4. Hopefully most of you are familiar with the current dashboard that's been in use for many years to track information about project development. And those of you that have received funding for Smart Scale hopefully are familiar with the Smart Scale dashboard. We are rolling out a new dashboard and wanted to make sure that all localities have the opportunity to hear about the new dashboard, get familiar with some of the features, and also be able to review the dashboard and offer feedback prior to its full implementation in July. So today we're going to start off with a brief presentation, and you're going to see also kind of a demonstration of the Dashboard 4, and then we'll open it up for questions. With the webinar, you do have the feature in the chat box to ask questions throughout the presentation, and we will stop periodically to try to address the questions that are in the chat box. And so with that, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll turn the meeting over to Jay Stiles and Sidonia Detmer to give you the overview of Dashboard 4.
Okay. Thanks, Julie. I appreciate it. Glad we can have everybody here today. I'm glad we got through all the technical difficulties and kind of get started. I want to spend some time today talking to you about what the changes that we have up and coming on our dashboard, and why it is important to localities, because localities play a very important part here with this. And, there we go. Trying to figure out how to advance the slides here. Okay. So we'll go over a few different things today. We'll just kind of go over a brief overview of the dashboard, why it's important, definitely go over some of the changes that we have in the new dashboard. We've made a lot of changes and updates on the, not just the view and the technology, but also the business rules. And so we will talk about that and give you a live demo of that piece of it, and then also talk about really some of the things from the local perspective that you need to be aware of, and things that it means for you, because I think it's definitely going to provide a lot more visibility to the local program. So that's just kind of in a nutshell what we're going to cover today. So why is it important? So just for those of you who aren't familiar with our dashboard, we launched our dashboard originally back in 2003, and we have last updated it was in 2007, really, so pretty stable. But we use it at VDOT for a lot of different things, but mainly to provide transparency for the program. And I think this was an issue when we first set this up, that we did not have a lot of transparency into projects, and so we started with our projects and one-time and one-budget delivery, and we expanded it out to some of the other areas, safety and operations, and pavement and bridge conditions. And what we found is that really helps us with accountability and responsibility throughout the department. That transparency enables us to really put the emphasis where it needs to be, and the people it needs to be. So those that are doing well, it shows up very well and very easily, and if those who aren't doing so well, it also shows up very well. So it really kind of exposes how folks are doing, and then that also enables us to kind of open the lines of communication. Once you can see how things are going, then we can have honest conversations about what needs to change in order to improve performance. So I think, and everybody works off that same level playing field, and that's really helped us. And then lastly, really, it just helps us to maintain focus. You know, we've got a few core things that we focus on, and we try to maintain focus on that. So that's just, if you're not familiar with it, that we've had this out for a while, that's really what this is about. It's a tool that enables us, through transparency, to really maintain focus on and accountability throughout as we work through these projects. So again, you know, talking about focus, we have a new commissioner, Commissioner Bridge, has come in, and he has laid out his vision for the department. And his number one point that he always starts with is flawless execution of the 6-year improvement program. And I think that's something that we're really focused on. I think the new secretary has, Valentine, has made it very clear she sees VDOT as a execution and delivery agency for these projects, and that's what really we're going to focus on. Another key message coming up is time equals money, and we're trying to get these projects delivered out to the citizens very efficiently and without delay. And while we've always been focused on that, I think that we're definitely going to see an increased focus on that as we go throughout this. All accountable for delivering projects on time and on budget. I think that that's something that is very important. We all have a piece of the plate of this. We're delivering. When we went through and did this dashboard, I think one of the kind of eye-openers is that when we looked at the counts of projects, while we've always known the local program was about a third of the dollars, it's about half the number of projects out there. From a numbers perspective, locals deliver about half the number. So you have a big part of the program. And regardless of, if there's federal money on the project, FHWA is holding VDOT accountable for that. So we have to, even if it's locally administered, so that means that, they're holding us accountable, and that means that, it's a locally administered project. There's certain standards and things that have to be met throughout. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, some of the things we're hoping to obtain through this. So as we go through and look at our new dashboard and some of the expectations and outcomes here, we're looking at phase 1, which is our project style, and that's what you're going to see today. In a minute, I'll outline kind of the whole project approach and updating this, but right now we're really focused on projects. As a part of this effort, before we started modernizing this dashboard, we had an outside firm come in and review our current dashboard and kind of tell us what were some of the things that we could do better, what were we doing well. And one of the things that they said that we needed to look at doing better is making sure we had more predictive or leading indicators of performance. And this was particularly true in the development and delivery area, where we're really tracking one activity. On the development, getting projects out the door to advertisement or award, we were only tracking the advertisement activity. And but one of the recommendations that came through with that is just make sure if you track more activities throughout the way, you can be more leading indicators of performance, and you can. Evidently, we have construction in the building, so you hear that hammering going through. More leading indicators of performance to help us stay on track. So we're gonna that will be one of the things that we're focused on there. Also looking at delivering to the budget and changing our culture from an estimate to the budget. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but I think in the past we had a culture where if you needed more money on a project, all you had to do was go in and ask for more money and it would magically appear. And going forward, that's probably not going to be the case anymore. Definitely true with the smart scale rules. We've got it set up so once the CTB approves that budget, that's it. And if you need more than, if you need more money, you've got to go back to the CTB to get that project, get that money. So we're really focused on delivering, whereas before you could go back and build, get more money for your project. Now folks are going to have to be constrained to what the money is available for. So I think that's an important part. We're really looking to kind of quicken the pace of the program here. We want to demonstrate that if the funding is there, if there's no breaks in the funding stream, we can deliver these projects quickly. I think everybody has their story. I've got mine of projects that, originally went on the board and were authorized, 20 years ago or so, or 30 years ago, and then, and we've been designing them for decades, and we're going to cut that out. A lot of that had to do with funding going on and off the project. If we get the funding and the CTB has demonstrated an increasing commitment from getting projects fully funded, that we want to demonstrate that we can deliver these projects and get them out the door in a quick time frame. So that's another thing here. With this expansion, for those of you who are familiar with we did a smart scale dashboard focused just on smart scale last year. We had some business rules applied there. we're taking those business rules and applying them to all the other projects on the dashboard. So we'll go over those rules today. If you're familiar with it, it should be review. If not, hopefully you'll learn something new. So, and lastly, along the lines of finishing and quickening the pace of the program is really kind of promoting the early start and finish of activities. So we're going to see things at the activity or the milestone level and really kind of take it down to that level so that we can ensure these projects get out the door on time. So, just a little bit of information about the governing structure for the dashboard and this project, just for your background. So our dashboard is governed by the dashboard council, which consists of the top 3 people in the department: our commissioner, our chief deputy commissioner, and our chief engineer. And they make, if we have to do any changes on the dashboard, they're the ones that make the decisions on that. So it's done at the highest levels. For purposes of this project and this upgrade, we felt like there were so many changes we're making, we needed to bring in a larger group. So we've got a steering committee, which consists of a lot of the executive leadership in the department, our chiefs, our district engineers, district administrators, and also the secretary's office is involved here. So we're trying to make sure that from an executive level that we're getting all the buy-in that we can and making the right decisions. We don't make these decisions and changes very often. Like I said, the last big change was about 10 years ago in 2007, and that's done on purpose. We want to make sure that we have consistency in the measures to help build a culture of accountability. If the stick is constantly moving every year or two and it's a new yardstick, that doesn't help people. So we're trying to make sure that we build this into the culture and not having a whole lot of changes as we go along. So we don't do this often, so we're trying to make sure we do it right as we go through this now. As part of that, underneath the steering committee, we've got working groups that really brings in your technical expertise there. We'll have different working groups for different areas of the dashboard. So, those will change as we go through and do the various files. So that's just kind of in a nutshell, just so you have an idea about, when you see this today, who's making the decisions, you can kind of have a little background on that. Our project approach, there on the left, that's our existing dashboard that we have today. We've got 7 different dials. Our highway performance for operations, congestion, safety, condition, finance, and then we've got some VDOT management and citizen satisfaction survey, and then the project dial, which we'll talk about today on the bottom. We're doing this one dial at a time, so you'll be seeing more changes as we go throughout this. Right now we're talking about projects. We'll probably talk about paving and bridge condition next, and then we'll go on from there. So that just kind of gives you an idea overall where we're going with this. So questions that we get a lot is what projects are included? And so we've got the short answer here and then a long answer. So the short answer for the non-technically inclined folks is we're looking at all projects in the 6-year plan that have planned to be awarded in FY19 and beyond. So that's really kind of the short answer there. If you really want to know exactly what we're pulling, we've got kind of the longer answer there, which gets into some of our systems, and if you're familiar with some of our systems and district codes, it will mean more to you there. But I think the main thing here is that what we're excluding, if it's a study only or if there's a critical decision needed, project closeout is complete, if we're just monitoring the funds or the project's been canceled, we're not going to be including that on this dashboard. So basically, if it's a project, it's going through the construction, and it's going to be awarded in 19 or later, that's what we're going to be measuring on this dashboard. Let's see. Okay, so just what's changing here? This is on our project development area as we go through and bring the project up to award. Before, we tracked one activity, advertisement. That was at the end of the process, and now we're going to be tracking 10 as we go throughout. So I think that's just as one of the recommendations that we had on this is to dive a little deeper. Before, if you went red, that meant you were late and it was not recoverable. Now we've built in a system of leading indicators that you can actually go in, you could turn yellow or turn red, but you've got opportunities to get the project back on track. So you're not red forever. So before, there really wasn't a whole lot of incentive to try to finish early. We were just meeting the deadlines. And I think as you see when we go through these rules today, we're trying to encourage activities to finish early. So we can move on to the next activity and get the project delivered on time. This is under the premise that if you aim to be on time, then you're probably going to be late. You have to shoot to be early to make sure you're on time, because things invariably they come up, and that's how we're going to deal with it, is making sure that folks are aiming to be a little early. So before, we talked a little bit about estimates, building that culture change from estimates. Before, you could just up your estimate and get more money, and now we're trying to focus people on the budget. So you'll see that as we go through these rules here today. So how do we set deadlines and budgets? And this is how we set the initial one. For smart scale and non-smart scale, we've got for on time, we're setting the activities when the project is for local agreement and authorization and scoping when the project is set up initially. So then was just those three. Then when the project is scoped, then the rest of the schedule is locked in. So we only lock in on those first few activities and make sure we get the scoping in a timely manner. And then after that, it's the rest of the schedule is set off of after the project's been scoped. So that's true for both smart scale and non-smart scale. For non-smart scale projects, the budget is locked into on that first estimate after scoping is complete. So you've got the opportunity to, until scoping is done, to adjust your numbers, and then we'll lock in on that estimate after scoping is complete. With smart scale, we lock in on the budget that the CTB approved. It's in the 6-year improvement program, and that's what we lock in on that right at the get-go. That's how our baselines are being set here, what we call our baselines for our deadlines and budgets. Okay, so let's get into the business rules. This is where we're getting in. I mentioned we're tracking 10 activities versus 1, and these are the 10 that we're tracking here. You can see the name on the left as you go through the column. That is what we call it on the dashboard going forward. One parentheses there is, if you're familiar with the VDOT nomenclature, those are the terms you're probably more familiar with, as well as our VDOT activity codes. So we changed the names of them on the left to something that should be a little bit easier for the public to digest. Some of the feedback that we've got, that some of our terms that we had were very not very digestible by the public. So so the way this works is that as long as you're early or outside of 30 days early, in some cases, on a few activities there are 60 days. As long as you're early on your activity, you're green. Then when you get inside that either 30 or 60-day window, it goes in and the project is considered yellow. And we use that yellow as kind of a warning track. So it's an indicator to know that there is an activity coming up due in the next either 30 or 60 days, and that it's just a flag that, if things aren't happening, things need to be happening on that. So, and those 30 or 60 days was based on the different activities and how much time it would take to provide an adequate warning track to really finish it up. So if you see 60 days on the complete purchase or right-of-way, the obtained permits, and then the actual advertisement, we provide, there's a little bit longer warning track there, just to make sure that people, if things aren't happening, that it kind of raises awareness of it, and we've got some more time to get that out the door. Once those activities go beyond those dates that were set up in the plan that were locked in after scoping, the project goes red. Now, the project will go red, and it will stay red until you finish the next activity one time, or one time, or if you get in that 30-day window, it will turn that. But you've got to finish the next activity one time, and then that will turn the project back to green. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Is there a way, can we pause and take questions at this point? Yeah. So I think,
pause recording?
Yeah. John's going to try to open it up. If there's, just check and see if there are any questions on this slide. I know there's a...
We have one, yeah.
Do you have one? Okay.
Any local government representation on the technical committee or work groups?
No. We do not have. We do have our local assistance division, and Julie, she's involved with that. We don't have anyone from the local government on the working group.
Yeah, I will comment that we do work with a stakeholders group, and we did have Jay and Sedonia come to one of our stakeholder group meetings in March, and they gave a similar presentation, and we did ask that group to give us some feedback. So we have a couple of things that have already been identified by local government that we're looking into that, should help provide some better information for local government. So.
And part of this is to try to get feedback from everyone here today, and we'll go through this, and there's a way to provide feedback through the tool itself. So, and we'll go through that as well. So, is that the?
That was it.
That was it for right now.
That was it for now.
All right. Good. I'm sure there'll be more, but I just want to check in before we get too far along here. Okay. All right. So we've made those changes that I just went over. We did that with the smart scale projects, and we wanted to pause because really a lot of the focus of what we're talking about today is going to be on the development side and delivering these one time and kind of shorten those durations there. So what we did, we took a look back since we've had smart scale up and running with these new rules and the smart scale dashboard up for about a year. We went back and looked and did a comparison on activities that were completed prior to dashboard, the smart scale dashboard, and then what were the activities completed after the dashboard. And what we found is that the business rules, we're trying to encourage things to finish earlier, and we found that those business rules are helping with that. So you see the bar on the right there, we had, 16% were finished in the red, 3 in the yellow. 65% of activities finished within that yellow time frame that either hit that 30 or 60-day window, but ultimately finished in one time. And then 16% at the bottom there actually finished prior to that. So we're trying to get things to finish up early and not be late. And what we're seeing with the smart scale activities so far, we've drastically shrunk the number of project activities that are coming in late, and we have increased the percent of activities that are finishing early before that 30 or 60-day window, depending on the activity. So I think we're seeing some, even though we've just got a year under our belt with the smart scale project, we're seeing that it is having a desired impact of trying to get these projects completed earlier and finishing these activities early. So just wanted to give a little bit of a kind of report out on these rules and what we're seeing and how it's impacting us thus far. Okay, so project development on budget. This is where we're shifting away from project estimates and moving towards a budget and sticking to a budget. So you'll see here we've got 3 different categorizations for projects under $5 million, $5 to $10 million, and over $10 million. And then you'll see we've got the red, yellow, and green scores. These shift a little bit from percents to dollar amounts back to percents or dollar amounts. That is based on the CTB policy for rescoring a project for smart scale. We kind of mirrored that policy, so that's why you see the difference there. So if you're under $5 million and your estimate in our project cost estimating system is between 0 and 20% of that set budget, then it goes into the yellow. And if it's over 20%, it goes to it's considered red. And the red marks there are taken directly from the CTB policy for rescoring. Just because you're red doesn't mean it goes back to be rescored, but it is the same threshold there for the rescoring. In the $5 to $10 million range, it's in that dollar amount, zero to $1 million over, and then over $1 million is red, and then anything over $10 million, it's either 10% range or if you're less than $5 million, whichever is less. And then if you're over either one of those, then it goes into the red. So just a way of, that's how we're tracking it on the development side for budgets. So try to keep those budgets close into what was, those estimates close to what the original budget was. So now we're shifting over to the delivery side, which is after the project's been awarded, we go into how projects are doing under construction. We did not have as many changes here. We did have one main change, which is today we measure a contract to the original specified completion date as it's completed in the contract, as it's listed in the contract. So, and VDOT projects, everything is a fixed date contract. So what we have for the larger projects that have milestones in the contracts, we've enabled we want to have milestones on those as well. So it's just for trying to mirror what we're doing on the development side. So on these larger contracts where there's a milestone already in place, and these would be things like major traffic changes, things that are visible to the public, we've allowed if it's within anything prior to 14 days to the date, it's in a green status. If you get within that 2 weeks, it goes yellow, and but it can turn back to green if you get it done before the date. Anything after that, more than likely anything after that's going to be red. Now, I see on there we've got this kind of yellow box for 7 days after the date. We're not sure. The steering committee is still making some decisions and tweaks on this. We have another meeting next week. I think they're going to be, I'm expecting to want to be consistent on both sides. We did have a yellow late before, if you're familiar with our old rules. They decided to take that out of the development side. I'm anticipating they'll probably do the same on the delivery just to try to keep things simple. But as of right now, if a project finishes, if a milestone finishes over 7 days, before 7 days after the end of the milestone date, it can be yellow. Anything after that is red. Now, of course, the complete delivery, the original specified completion date has to be met, or it's red. So a little bit of background on that one. Budget information for project delivery for these contracts has not changed. This is exactly how we have it on the dashboard today. Your green, if your cost of work to date is within 103%, between 3 and 10% over, it goes yellow, because we do allow a 10% contingency on the payments to contractors, and then anything over that is red. So that's basically what that is as well too. Now, if we have any missing data on any of these, it will also trigger a red status. So if there's data that we need to do the calculation and it's not there, then it'll be red for missing data. And we'll have reason codes there that will say that it's red for missing data. And we'll show you that in a couple of minutes. All right. Actually, I guess we'll start showing you that now. We're going to get into the prototype portion of this.
We do have a question.
Okay, yeah.
Box. Says, what about time extensions for construction due to approved change orders? Will the delivery finish date be extended or still stay in the same as the original completion date?
It will be the same as the original completion date. And this was we haven't changed this since the get-go when we launched the original dashboard back 15 years ago now. That was discussed at the time when we did that, and basically it came down to what's our legal obligation versus what is the public expecting. And the answer was we're going to stick with the original date because that's what we promised the public originally. Occasionally things come up, and that's our targets are set in such a way to allow that flexibility, because we're really, we're looking at our targets for delivery 77% for projects on time. That's a C. We're not asking for A+ here. So while things happen, it shouldn't happen, hopefully don't happen that often, but it would be the original date in the contract is what we would hold to. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Sidonia, who will walk us through, you got your book out, walk us through the actual dashboard.
All right, thank you. So Julie has already provided you the link to the VDOT dashboard, and you will simply just click on it, and that should launch the Power BI I'm going to have issues if I open this in my WebEx.
Could open another screen.
Just take a moment to launch the dashboard. First thing that you will see is an agreement, because everything is in a draft form, and we are, as Jay described, we are making refinements to the business rules. We're making still adjustments to the data that's in the source system that fuel basically everything that you see in the dashboard. So the dashboard is untouched by human hands. It is just based on the sources of data from systems that we utilize. I apologize about this delay. For those of you that have already access to this dashboard, I'm sure you have seen it opens up much faster than this. I'm not sure why we have this delay. All right, so here we are. You'll see the usage agreement, and on every single page of the dashboard, you will see a stamp that indicates this is draft. The usage agreement is just simply so that we all understand that this is a work in progress, and it shouldn't be utilized as the final result. So you will just simply click on the right, and then you will be able to enter the dashboard itself, which will launch the first page. And on the first page, you will see at the top that we can look at the results by all projects. I'll just wait until everything shows up. Here we go. We can switch over to VDOT Manage. And non-VDOT Managed. Most likely what we will do is we will change this to locally administered on the front page. So that's just FYI, a page that's in change that's in progress. On the left-hand side, we see the results for project development. So while a project is in design phase prior to award, we'll see all the results there. And then when the project is awarded and under contract, it's on the project delivery side. On the bottom, I'll point out to you, you can access a very detailed guide. It's exciting reading, but if you are interested about specifics about certain business rules, I would recommend that you check that out. There's also a quick guide that gives you an introduction if you have never used Power BI. It gives you an introduction of how we have built this dashboard so you can navigate easily between the various pages. One thing that's very different is this scroll through that I'll point out to you. If you want to see any detailed pages, you'll actually have to right click, and then you will see a drill through that will enable you to go to the details of a particular project, and we'll go through that. If you want to go back, you just click this back arrow. And then the other thing I'll point out to you, feedback is where we collect and we review all of your questions that you may have about a specific project or question overall about the dashboard. So there's actually a team of folks in Business Transformation Office that monitor this email, and we obviously we provide you responses, but obviously your feedback will influence the design or features to providing us that feedback. With that, let's actually go into project development. And I promise you, when you actually have this in front of you, it'll be faster. I think it has something to do maybe with the WebEx. So we are in the project development, and you will see on the top page, it will always give you an indication of what data you're looking at. All projects right now, we have on-time performance 86%, 80%. Let's look at locally managed, and we'll talk very quickly about what you're seeing here, the details. So on-time is on the left, on budget is on the right, and then you see the number of projects actually comprising the percentage. So we have 81% on time, and that's 574 projects of 701. But that means it's actually for all of the planned awards from fiscal year 19 forward, including any smart scale projects. And let's jump back here. I'll see the account of projects for each red, yellow, green status. We also see projects that are active, which means they have not yet been awarded, and then those that have been awarded, so these are complete projects. We also provide you the dollar value, the overall project value for those projects. So you can, this is a great tool, I mean, for, let's say, a particular locality. At Alexandria, you can very quickly is what project your way. And let's see, we want to look at just at a particular year, so we want to see what's planned to be awarded in fiscal year 19. We have only one project completed or active. On-time status currently status. All the same information is provided on budget. So we have, again, active, completed, and total count and dollar value. And then you have a number of features that are available to you that will provide countless permutations where you can actually look at a specific UPC. You can look at a particular district. A specific residency, specific county. We can look at information by road system. How is the project being delivered? What type of a contract? By scope of work. You could filter information by scope of work. We could filter by description of the project, the status, and then we also have any state of good repair projects that are part of the Secure program, as well as you can filter on smart scale projects as well. So we try to provide you kind of all-inclusive menu for sorting and evaluating the information in your program. One of the counties was kind enough to share a UPC, so we will actually look at a UPC. Specific project 104.57.
I ain't a number.
5-7, that's right.
That still ain't right.
Everyone, please make sure your mics are muted. #6, please.
There we are. So if you actually mistype as I did, you will not be able to find ICC. And you can select that specific project, and now I'll show you how to drill through. So right-click on the project, you'll see the drill through, and then to the development detail, we will navigate to the details of that particular project. So on the left-hand side, what you will see is general information about the project. See, there's a delay. Here we are. So we have the fiscal year of when this project is planned to be awarded. In this case, it's fiscal year 2020. We have the district information, road system, who is administering it, the scope of work, and then we have the VDOT and non-VDOT point of contact. And we like to have, as in the current dashboard, we like to have information, contact information available. So again, from Project Pool or wherever it exists currently, we pull that information to incorporate the email and the phone number. There's a mapping feature, and then the details of the actual milestones that we tracked are on the right. So in this case, overall you can see that the very last activity that was completed was start purchasing right-of-way, and it was completed right on the date that it was planned to be completed, so it's in the green. And you can see that the next activity is planned to be completed in August. So as long as we complete it either early or by that date, the project will remain in a green status. I'll point out also to you that not only do we show the red, yellow, green status, but we also explain why it is in that status. So there's a brief explanation. And then down below, we see the project budget information. Again, there's no variance. The estimate currently in the PCS system is equivalent to the budget. This particular project does not have obviously it's not awarded, so it does not have contact information. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you a project that actually is already under construction so that we can view that detail of information and see what information is needed to calculate the on-time and on-budget status. Okay, and we drill through the same way. We'll see the development detail first. This is a project in Culpeper District. It is a VDOT administered project. And you will notice this is the same information that we just reviewed on the development side. But you can also see now there's a contract that corresponds to this project. And we can view that information by doing the same drill through action. And the format really mimics the development. So we try to keep kind of things consistent in terms of the design. So there's general information on the left with the map feature on the bottom, and then schedule and budget information on the right. One of the things that I'll notice you, we have the ability to add milestones while the project is under contract. But in this case, this is a very good example of what we don't want to do, which is just simply add milestones that are, written as Phase 1 or Phase A without any meaning to us or the public in terms of what's happening during that particular milestone. In this case, unfortunately, we accepted the contract, let's see, 24 days after the original. And so this is, of course, non-recoverable. The budget was within the 10% threshold, so it is in the green. And I'd like to just open it up at this point for any questions you may have about the details of the development as well as the delivery detail in the dashboard. Are there any questions, John?
No questions on the chat window, but if anybody has any questions through the phone line, *6 to unmute. You have one. What is the link to see this dashboard?
And Julie, will you follow up with another message to everyone with a link?
Yes, so that was sent out in the email that I sent yesterday, and just the new information. I know that I had a couple comments about not being able to open the link, even though I was trying to say that as a separate document. I know it was linked to Google Drive, but we did put it on our Local Assistance Division webpage today, so you can access the guide and the handout that was developed just to explain some of the features on our webpage.
And the second question, who will input the schedule values into dashboard?
Okay, great question. So for development, the process really hasn't changed. So there's still that communication channel that's required between the project coordinator and the project manager from the locality. But on the contract side, we are working on developing a smart portal collection site where independently localities and cities will be able to provide very basic information so that we can include contact information. We can also include, who's the construction company that's actually working on the delivery, and general information that will enable us to calculate on time and on budget status.
We have another question. What happens if actual dates are entered late? Should dates be entered within the same day?
So if dates have not been entered in a timely manner, there is potential that the project could be yellow or red, depending on when that deadline was in the schedule. So I would encourage, as soon as the actuals are available, to coordinate with the VDOT liaison, or in the future, when Smart Portal has this feature available for contracts, to provide that information.
But once it's provided, it will go back. If it was done on time, it will go back to green.
That's right.
Yes.
Time. We have a question about not receiving the link, but
Yeah, it was within the email, and it's within a sentence that then indicates it's available at this link, and then it says
projects dial.
Dashboard project dial. And if we could get the name of the person that said that, and I can resend it, but it is in the original email that I sent out.
So from this page, you can always go back to project home, and so if there are specific questions that you may have about a particular project that there may be missing information that could be contributing to a status that you just cannot figure out and address, you submit to us feedback right through this button, and someone will provide you a response. Actually, when you click on the feedback, it will launch into an email Not doing that in this webinar. If there are no other questions about that, the other thing I'd like to point out to you before we leave the demo is the analytics section. And while you are reviewing information that's in the various systems, this may be very helpful to you. You can see which activities for which you are responsible on the local program may need your attention and which specific projects they are on. So this is not intended for public at all. It is just available now until we launch on July 1 to help us improve the quality of the data that's available. So I'm going to change this to locally administered. And what this shows us are all of the activities that are locally administered projects, and these are all of the activities on those projects. You'll notice at the top that you're doing a great job. I mean, for local agreements, we have 580 of them that are on time at this point in time. We have 661 that are for PE authorization that are on time. On the bottom, so these are the items that may need your attention. We have 35 local agreements that are late. And when we click on the 35, what you will see on the right-hand side are those corresponding 35 projects. So we have provided you a very quick way of further filtering here to, let's say, a particular county, and then you can actually drill through to the specific project. So we are trying to provide this to you to make it as easy as possible and have the information basically at your fingertips. Okay, do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, so July 1st, it'll still be accessible to us, but the public won't be able to get to it. Is that what you're?
Till July 1st.
Yes, and our intention is probably to build out a whole series of different analytics based on our own needs inside of the agency, as well as the feedback that we hear from localities. If there are specific reports that would be helpful to them, we are happy to provide those features. It would just not be part of the public dashboard for public viewing. I think that's all I have for you in terms of the demonstration, unless you have other questions and you'd like to look at other features. But I would encourage you to just spend some time and evaluating your specific projects in your county, your city. There are just literally, you can see with these filters that are available to you, there are just countless opportunities here for viewing the data how you wish.
Does anyone have any other questions?
So the feedback that we have received so far, and I have to admit it hasn't been a lot that we have received so far, so we welcome that feedback. This is why we are spending so much time in this phase of basically the prototype and incorporating your feedback into the final product. Basically three things. One is related to the additional scope that the locality may be adding actually through their specific funding. So the question is, when we have betterments or additional money that the locality is adding to the project, should not be considered. And right now, it is not, but we are submitting this as one of those decision points to the steering committee. So we should have an answer very shortly on this. The other thing that we heard is that there is a need to export the data to Excel so that you can then further analyze beyond outside of the dashboard. And while the Power BI tool does not have this feature right now, we are working on making this possible for you, and we will most likely have a link to actually export the data from within the dashboard. So that's coming. And then lastly, we had feedback about that it would be nice to have a comment to be able to provide more information about why the project is in the status that it is. So why maybe it's late or it's not on budget, to provide a little bit more explanation to the public and others viewing that information. So we are bringing that as well to the steering committee to see whether they want to consider that at this time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stabia. All right, so let's just wrap up here with what does this mean for localities and some of the changes that would be coming here. So I think probably the biggest change, and we had a question on this earlier regarding the contract information. We have the information on the development side, but when we get over to delivery side for contract information, we will need some additional information on getting this in. Now, under our current dashboard, if those of you are familiar, we had a method that for getting contract information in on that on our current dashboard. We've had lots of problems with access and passwords expiring and that sort of thing. So that has been optional up to this point. We have a solution to this through the Smart Portal that we're working on, and that's going to provide that access. So the same tool that you're using for putting in your smart scale applications, that's the tool with the solution, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. So we're going to be working on that, and that will streamline the setup, and we're going to be leveraging the existing data that we have to the greatest extent possible. So I think that will help us with that. I think the important thing here is that because it was optional before, now it's not going to be. We're going to have all these projects in delivery on the delivery side, and regardless of whether we've got the information or not. If the information isn't there, the dashboard defaults to a red status for missing critical information. So I think that's something that you need to be aware of as we get these set up, that we're going to need to get that information in place to keep these projects so they show up and they're green and they're not just sitting there red because we're missing the information. So that is a change here for that. We talked a little bit earlier about what information is needed. This slide just kind of gives an overview of really it's 10 pieces of information. Most of this you saw on the slide already, like who's the contact and the phone and the email, construction company, that sort of thing. A lot of these are one-time setups. The ones there in the green, we've got 4 pieces of information that would need to be updated throughout the life of the contract. So if there is a work order on it, that's a current contract. That would be the current contract completion date. That's what we use for that. Acceptance, obviously, when it's done. If the current amount, if there's a work order extends the contract, we'll need that information, and then cost of work to date, any expenditures that we've got charged to it. So those would be the fields that we would need updated on a regular basis. Other just important points to sum up here, we are taking these smart scale rules and applying them to all the projects in the program. And really, we're doing this to demonstrate that we can deliver these projects in a timely manner, that especially if they give us the funds, we can take those funds and get them out the door and turn them into pavement and get these projects done. Transparency is also is critical, making sure that people can see these statuses and the public can get in there to this information. And we have found, because for those of you who aren't familiar, I think when we first did this, there was a big concern that, oh my goodness, my name and phone number is on there. I'm going to get all these phone calls and emails. We won't be able to get anything done. And we found after we made it through the initial launch, that was not the case at all. We kept track of all the feedback, and while we did get questions from time to time, it was just the fact that the information was there probably kept questions from coming in instead of actually encouraging them. I think just having that information out there gives people a level of comfort. And so we did not see and have not seen a big influx of questions coming in for having that information out there. So with that, I think, let's see, what else do we have? One more slide. Yeah, here's our schedule going forward, what we've done so far. We are in our beta testing kind of period right now where we're going out and have folks use it and really extend out to the localities so y'all can get in there and test it and look at it. We have worked extensively over the last several months to make sure that the data in the system is correct. We're getting a little garble in there on the mic, so I don't know if someone's not muted. But over the next month, we would like you to take some time to look at your projects and double check and make sure that everything looks good. And if not, please let us know. Call your local project coordinator. You can send an email through the feedback button. But we want to know, we want to try to get this as accurate as we possibly can before we launch. We will be taking this to the Commonwealth Transportation Board at some point in the future, whenever we can get on their schedule, hopefully either May or June, and brief them on it. I think they're aware that it's coming, and they're interested in seeing what's going on with this. So, and the idea is that we will launch on July 1 with the new fiscal year, and we'll begin measurement on this at that time. So that is where we're at right now from the schedule perspective. So I will open it up for any other questions we've got through chat, phone, whatever.
Nothing in chat at this point.
I know you've got questions.
Well, I think we definitely want to emphasize the deadline for localities to submit feedback. As you use the tool, there's a link right there on the tool to be able to submit feedback. But the committee is very interested in just kind of hearing your thoughts, and if you've got questions, concerns, suggestions, to provide those prior to the tool being finalized. And I think as you heard today, it's, with Dashboard 4, it'll be even more critical that localities that are administering projects work very closely with your project coordinator to make sure that they have up-to-date information about your project status and that we're keeping this tool as updated as possible. I know from experience that there are quite a few people, Secretary's Office, CTB members, General Assembly members, that a lot of times for smart scale, they're going to the dashboard to get their information about a project status. And that's kind of what this tool is, that anybody that wants to know information about a project, they can go to the tool, and that should give them the most current information about where their project is. And so we want to make sure we work together to keep it updated.
All right, and the question about the presentation being available, we'll post the presentation along with the recording of the webinar on the VDOT external lab website, and we'll send out a link to that.
We can send a follow-up email, and we'll make sure that does include the link to the dashboard tool, as well as the link to our webpage, where we'll be posting the recording of the webinar and where the guidebook already is.
Do we have any other questions out there?
We thank you for your time and attention, and again, thank Jay and Sidonia for joining us today and giving us this information, and we look forward to hearing from you once you've had an opportunity to look at it.
Thank you.